Hi, this is Scott with Android Guys Reviews. I'm here with Luke.
Hey.
Hey, Luke. You have something you'd like to review today?
I do. I have a phone, actually.
Ooh, a
Yeah.
smartphone.
A smart-ish phone.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have, it is a company called AGM,
Mm-hmm.
and it is their M7. And what the M7 is it is a rugged phone.
Okay.
So this is a phone that is made for harsh conditions, made to be used wherever you are.
Okay.
It's got, water is water resistant, IP68.
Okay.
It's got, drop test, dust.
So dirt drops, dust.
Yeah,
all the
everything's got
life accidents.
Yeah,
Okay.
hard shell case design. Kind of the whole rugged phone thing.
I'm looking at it here, and it kind of has almost like a walkie-talkie kind
Very
of
much so.
design, almost like the speaker on the back.
Yep.
The buttons.
At first glance, it looks like I stepped out of 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And
Almost like a throwback to like a Nokia.
yeah,
kind of
it's
handset.
very much like a candy bar phone,
Mm-hmm.
like a bar phone. But this thing, it runs Android 8.
Okay. And that's is that the full or the Go edition?
The Go.
Okay. Which
So,
for the intended purposes is all you need.
yep, light smart features. So this does have access to a full browser.
Okay.
And it has it has a camera. It has a front-facing camera for video calls if you want to do. It has Chrome browser. It's got a Facebook app on it. It's got your your music choices, and it has a lot of smarter features.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's ancillary. That
Yeah,
is
it
not
seems like
the
the
focus.
afterthought.
The focus is on a phone that will stick through wherever you are
Mm-hmm.
and give you phone calls. It has a big old 35 millimeter speaker on the back that will make it very loud.
Yeah.
So you're going to hear phone calls. It's got a loudspeaker phone.
Mm-hmm.
This is made for out in the field. So, I have a lot of history in construction.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this would have been a great phone, will be a great phone for somebody that's out in the work field, somewhere that is loud, somewhere that is messy.
Yeah.
And you really just, if you need a thing for calls, you can text message
Mm-hmm.
but it's just it's a regular T9 keyboard.
Okay.
It's not QWERTY.
Yeah.
So you're going to be doing T9 texting. And you can have the features of, it has Bluetooth. So if you wanted to have your headphones to listen to music, you could do that. But it is not a smartphone in what we know, as a smartphone now.
Yeah.
It has smart features. But this, it has some really cool things. It has a dedicated feature button on the side that is, it's kind of like the color scheme is like a black and orange kind of style.
Mm-hmm.
Very much fits in with
Real high contrast.
Yeah, like work style hazard kind of look. But this feature button can be changed to, like a push to talk button. It can be a long press will turn on flashlight, which is on the top of the device.
Okay.
And it's a pretty bright flashlight.
Yeah.
You can make it for taking pictures if you want to do it that way. And then it has some other quick hold buttons that you can, you hold down the pound sign and that'll turn on vibrate. If you hold down the star button, that'll actually close out all your apps.
Okay.
And clear off your usage.
I could see that being helpful for I need to pull up a quick calculator.
Yeah.
Then I just, trigger that button if that's the thing that I use in the field the most.
Right.
Or if I'm, climbing up and down ladders all day long and, I need to jot memos or stuff to myself as I'm thinking of things.
It has the case. So it has a a removable battery, which is something you don't see much anymore either.
Right.
But you can take the back off, and then there's a case cover, and then a battery cover, and then the battery.
Okay, so those are tucked away so that
it's got a couple different ways to protect the battery, and that case that goes over the battery has a nice gasket seal to it, so it, nothing's going to get in there, provided you put it on correctly. But I don't think you'd be able to snap on the back if you didn't have it on correctly.
Yeah.
So the only thing, because it is a phone made mostly for being a phone, some of the features of it are leave a little to be desired, or seem a little bit less than maybe they could be.
Well, so that's hard, right? Because we see phones so often, and we see them at all levels of the spectrum.
Right.
And, it's so easy to subconsciously start to compare.
Right.
Rather than look at things in a silo or a vacuum and say, what is this? Who is it for? What's its price?
Right.
How does it do? Where you look at it and go, it has Android, but it doesn't really have Android.
Right.
Does that matter?
Right. So, and I think that comes, I think that's the basic question of this phone. It has these things, and whether it needs them or not, does that matter?
Sure.
And I think it comes down to, what are you going to use it for, and does it do what you need it to do? So, for instance, first of all, let me say this. The phone is $100.
Okay. Yeah.
It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's a cheap phone. And it's, for the quality and for the build quality of it, I think that's a fair price.
Yeah.
But back to some of these features for camera, it has a 2-megapixel camera on the back.
And I did see some of your samples.
And a 0.3 megapixel camera on the front. So it definitely feels like a phone back from
2005. Yeah.
You're taking a picture, and it looks like an old picture.
Yeah.
This thing has a 2.4-inch touchscreen also. I don't know if you need it.
Yeah, I still there's a D-pad under it.
There's a D-pad. Yep. Right. It's very much the style of the old kind of candy bar style phones.
I feel like between that and the T9 texting, I would be not touching that display very much.
Right. And I wonder, there's a couple things that are, I scratch my head a little bit. So let me get through the rest of these features. It has a 1 gig of RAM, 8 gigs of ROM, and then a 2500 milliamp battery. So that's a good sized battery for this phone.
Pretty respectable battery.
Yeah. And it's 4G LTE.
Okay.
So it is, it's not a 5G phone, but it doesn't need to be. If it's made for making phone calls, it's going to do that fine.
Yeah.
Streaming music, 4G is going to be fine for you. But that comes, so all of that being said, there's a couple of these features is, why is it there?
Yeah.
Just because you can put Android, Go on this phone, or just because it can have a touchscreen, doesn't need it.
Sure. Well, and is it a better alternative to Java or some homebrew?
Maybe, probably.
But then why add the touchscreen?
Right.
But yeah.
If I would have to think, maybe if you don't do the touchscreen, maybe you use that money on a better camera.
Yeah.
So that it's at least because to be honest, to me, having had the background I do in a trade that I think this was probably designed for, those pictures are unusable.
Yeah, you would think you're just if you're out on the job site and you want to take a picture, show that this was wired or this was put back up.
It's really hard to see, and you need good light. Any kind of low light,
that's it.
You're hosed.
Yeah,
because there's no flash on the camera,
right?
And the flashlight points up to the top of the phone, and the camera points to the back. So there's really going to be no way that the flash or a flashlight would help you.
So it exists, but try not to use it, or
it's one of those things where I think it's made for the person that needs a phone first, that needs it to be rugged, needs it to handle anything that you can throw at it. But then they added all these other features because I think at this point they're cheap enough that it's why not add them?
Sure.
My struggle is, does that take away from the overall experience of the phone?
Yeah. Because
you have those and they're not as good as they could be.
It's like saying I would prefer my hotel room not have Wi-Fi than to have really slow, spotty Wi-Fi.
Sure.
And be frustrated with it.
Right.
I would rather just know I don't get it.
Right.
And have to deal with that.
Now, everything in here, the smarter features do work.
Yeah.
They work fine. It's just at this point, and maybe if you're going from a flip phone into a phone like this that has some more smarter features, it might be a step up for you.
Sure.
But for anybody else that has used, maybe a low-end smartphone with a OtterBox,
you'll be frustrated by
it's going to be a step backwards.
The experience.
Now, there's going to be some things that are going to be nice. The speaker's very nice on this phone. The fact of having a flashlight on the top of the phone.
Yeah.
If you're carrying around stuff, you can literally just hold the phone in your teeth and you have a flashlight.
Yeah.
Like, there's some smart design, some very interesting smart design with this.
Yep.
It also has some features. It has a USB-C charge, which is nice. But then there's an optional cradle you can put it in for desktop charging.
Okay.
Which are similar to kind of like a walkie-talkie or something like that. So those are some nice things for more industrial use.
Yeah.
Overall, I gave this thing a 3.6.
And that's pretty good.
It is. I think for what it's designed to do.
And it probably scores higher for the target demographic.
Absolutely. I think it does what it's supposed to do very well. And I'm interested to see more from AGM. I was looking at their website on some other phones that they have, and it seems like they do these rugged builds very well. They have another phone that is more of a full-featured smartphone that is a rugged phone that I would love to see and get my hands on. But this one was a surprising thing for me. At first, I got it out and looked at it. And I was like, man, this is not going to be good.
Yeah.
But as I got playing with it and sitting down with it and thinking, okay, who is this made for?
Yeah. What
is this supposed to do? I think what it does for the use it's intended for is very, very good.
Yeah. Now, my dad is a prepaid phone user.
Yeah.
And he still is of the I need to add minutes kind of one where he doesn't even do the unlimited calling. He still goes and adds minutes to his phone every 6 months or so. If I gave him that, he would be 100% fine with it.
Sure.
I would tell him, well, it doesn't have it. He's not going to want to hear. I don't care. I don't need that.
Right.
And I can show him that flashlight, and he thinks that's the coolest thing.
Right.
He's going to appreciate the fact that he can drop this thing. He'll walk sometimes with a cane or a walker, and or use a wheelchair. So he will find that he drops things.
Yeah.
And that will wear and tear way better than what he's currently using.
Sure.
And so he is a potential candidate for that. And if I told him, Dad, this phone's only $100,
right,
he's going to understand, like, that's a pretty good deal. I like that phone.
Yeah.
It's a very qualified kind of device.
Yeah, it's the right device for the right situation.
Yeah.
It's not the right device for any situation.
Sure.
And I think that's the distinction, especially when you're looking at these phones when they get into these price points and you have to make trade-offs on features.
Yeah.
You really have to look at what am I really using this for?
Right.
And then you find the device that does that.
Yep.
And I say for somebody that needs a phone that can take almost any environment, and really your most important thing is making calls, the M7 from AGM is a good candidate.
Well, right on. Thanks for sharing.
No problem.